We've heard the officer from the bomb squad earlier at this news conference describing that this device is used elsewhere in the world by terrorists. However, the Hong Kong police force for now is not treating this case as a terrorist case as yet. But of course, they are very concerned. This is the first time, like you said, that a homemade device was used during the protests. It is basically a mobile phone linked by remote control. So what happened was over the weekend at around 8 p.m. in Mong Kok area, the device was planted in the bushes area, and when the police van drove past it, the device went off. The police say that they believe that this was meant to hurt police officers. The distance between the moving van as well as the device was around 2 meters, so at that time no one was injured. Of course, there was considerably quite a high level of interest about the bombs at this news conference. The officer from the bomb squad says that this bomb is made by people or a person who has a fair level of knowledge in terms of understanding how explosives work as well as electronics. And he says that this device would have to go through various rounds of trial and error and experimentation and is extremely dangerous. Of course, the police are now looking very carefully into all these new threats during the news conference. They also said that right now the police officers face life-threatening situations every time they are on the ground to handle protests.
Right. Now, Wai-Kit, what else was mentioned at the police briefing? Do you have the latest figures for us in terms of those arrested, a number of people injured, and also that police officer who was slashed?
Well, what stood out for me really, Angie, were not the numbers of people who were arrested. They will, of course, be arrested every weekend. There are always updates. The youngest still remain to be around 12, with oldest this time around 60s. But what stood out for me is that the level of violence that was shown to us during videos played at the news conference is that it's really escalated as compared to before. You mentioned earlier there was a police officer who was slashed in the neck. He was slashed and attacked by this person in close range, and this person has now been arrested under initial charges of attempted murder. Now, over the weekend, we also saw protesters throwing around 20 petrol bombs in succession at the Mong Kok police station, causing a large fire. Now, one thing that stood out also, which wasn't shared at the news conference, is an internal police memo which I saw. Now, starting October 15, that's tomorrow, officers will be able to bring home with them pepper spray. Now, the context is that off-duty officers have recently come under attack by civilians or protesters who identify them somehow and then launch attacks on them. This also comes on the back of police officers off duty being able to bring their police batons back home. So if you see this trend, it's very interesting because initially the reason for police officers being able to bring back their police batons home is because there's a general state of lawlessness in Hong Kong, and the police force also expects off-duty policemen to carry out law and order duties even when they're off duty. The fact that they are now given pepper spray, which can both be an agent to attack and defend, really shows you the extent of the kind of life-threatening situations that the police force see their officers undergo.